Hello, my name is Jamie Wright, and I'm going to be discussing with you guys today the Euthyphro by Plato. The Euthyphro is one of the five Platonic dialogues that discuss Socrates' life. The Euthyphro is an early Platonic dialogue, and it is categorized as such because of its true dialogue between characters, its short length, its historical evidence, its ethical issues, and the fact that it leaves a question unanswered, which is typical of all Platonic dialogues. The dialogue begins with Euthyphro and Socrates in the court area, discussing with one another why they have both arrived in their current situations. Euthyphro begins the dialogue by asking Socrates why he has appeared in court on that day. Socrates replies that he is in court that day because he is being charged by Meletus of the crimes of corrupting the youth and of failing to worship the gods of Athens. Socrates then questions Euthyphro as to why he is in the court on that day, and Euthyphro explains that he has decided to charge his father with murder. Socrates seems to find the idea of charging one's own father with murder as a crime that is ridiculous, but Euthyphro insists that one should act justly regardless of the person or his or her relation to him. Socrates decides that since Euthyphro appears to have all sorts of knowledge about pious and impious, he will try and learn these definitions from him. Socrates begins by asking Euthyphro questions, just as any typical philosopher would do, and starts by asking what he believes piety is. Euthyphro initially answers that in order to be pious, one must do what he is doing now, prosecuting the wrongdoer, and that by not prosecuting, one would be acting impiously. Euthyphro then goes on to explain that he believes that whatever is dear to the gods is pious, and that what is not is impious. Socrates, up until this point, had been frustrated with Euthyphro because he had not given him a direct definition, but merely had given him examples. But now, Socrates has been provided with a direct definition, so he appears to be pleased. Socrates then proceeds to explain that although he is happy with Euthyphro for providing him with a direct definition, he finds fault with this answer because some of the gods do not necessarily have the same standards of what is pious and what is impious. At this point, Socrates catches Euthyphro in his first mental slip-up. Socrates has chosen to pester and mess with Euthyphro, even though he doesn't realize that is what Socrates is actually doing. Socrates, despite what Euthyphro says, ignorant or not, continues to egg him on in order to further humiliate him later on in the story. Socrates is annoyed with Euthyphro, mainly because of the fact that he is ignorant and cocky and teaches without knowing why things are what they are. Socrates, after the slip-up with the piety and impiety of the gods, continues to beg for Euthyphro to reveal the answers of the definitions, since he appears to be all-knowing. Socrates, by continuing to inflate Euthyphro, gets him to keep talking about what he believes the difference between impiety and piety is. Euthyphro then explains that he changes his definition of pious as being whatever the gods love, and that being impious is doing whatever the gods hate. Socrates continues to question Euthyphro about his definitions and begins to work Euthyphro into a corner that he cannot manage to get out of. Euthyphro points out that every time he offers a definition to Socrates, Socrates manages to manipulate the definition and change it from whatever Euthyphro had originally stated. Socrates questions Euthyphro about whether piety is part of the just or if justice is part of piety. Socrates eventually humiliates Euthyphro to the point that he ends up leaving the court area without even giving Socrates his final definition of what he believes piety is. Socrates' point in this episode is to try and prove that Euthyphro uses the philosophy of religion and the divine command theory in order to assert his definitions of what he believes piety and impiety are. Euthyphro is cocky and ignorant about his religion, and he ignorantly believes that he should act and do everything according to what the gods want. But Socrates, through his dialogue with Euthyphro, points out that he does not, in fact, know what it is that the gods actually want from him. Socrates demolishes Euthyphro, and he eventually runs away from the situation cowardly.